How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore, PPF and Tint, and today we are working on a BMW M3. So this one I believe is a 95, at least that's what some of the stuff in the glove box leads me to believe. There's like no like registration in there or anything, so there's nothing really obvious, but it does have some paperwork in there from 95 that looks like original paperwork. There's some stuff in there in German, so I'm guessing that stuff is probably original. And we are going to be putting paint protection film on this, so we're going to be doing the full front end. So we're going to do the bumper, both fenders, and the hood, and then we'll kind of go from there and see if we're going to do a couple little other spots. As far as in the back, there's some areas that might need some protection from rocks and things like that that could kick up from the front tires. The hood is getting, they're just finishing the hood, so we'll get that later on. I'll probably do this in separate chunks. This video is going to get a little lengthy on the front bumper because these are going to take a while. Now, I haven't done this one specifically, but I have done some of these older BMWs, and you know, they require, I did a black one not too long ago. It was a different year though, still an M3. I don't know you know, all the stuff about the BMWs as far as what their, you know, their letters and numbers and what they are, as far as being the make and model. The model part, I'm not sure, but I will get that information from the body shop, and then I'll put that obviously in the title of the video. Anyway, that's a lot of words, and I'm gonna have some more words. If you want to skip the words and just get right to the install, there will be stuff in the timeline where you can just skip ahead so you know exactly when the install starts. But we're gonna talk about this bumper here as far as how I'm gonna tackle this when I'm looking at this bumper, how I'm reading it, as well as, you know, how many pieces. This looks like it's gonna be in 3 pieces on this bumper, and that's just because there's way too much, like, this isn't happening in 1 piece. Let's just put that out there. That's not happening. It's probably, definitely, I don't see it happening in 3 pieces, or I'm sorry, I don't see it happening in 1 piece without question. It's definitely not happening. It's definitely not happening, I don't think, in 2 pieces either. So what I'm going to be doing here is, when I look at this, you know, we basically have 90 degrees here, and then we have a turn of 90 degrees here. So that leaves you with a ton of extra material here and here. And then we also want to try and get some of this bottom. I mean, so to stretch material over that, that's zero possibility that's happening. You're going to end up with some huge relief cuts down here, which we're probably going to end up with anyway. So let me go over exactly what I'm going to be doing here. So on this top part here, this is going to be 1 piece, and then the seam is going to be right here. I'm going to put the seam right there. So we're going to have a piece here, we're going to have a piece here, and we're going to have a piece down here. The nice thing with breaking it up right here though is there's only 4 little portions that are going to need to be seamed together for this part, and we are going to fill in this entire recess here. So this top piece will come down, wrap in, and then maybe even come down a little bit if I can get it to do that, because then the sticker will hide that. I guess this is like a sticker that goes in here. Will hide, go over the top of that seam. And we need to get a pretty decent seam, otherwise that's going to be more visible underneath that, or through that sticker. Now the second piece will seam here and come down to here. And right here, we're going to end up with a whole bunch of extra material because I'm going to lay this over, and I really want the material to lay into here. And so we don't want to put too much stretch on it, because that's going to cause problems in areas like this where it's not going to want to contour into that if we put too much stretch on it, in order to stretch the extra material that's going to be here out of it. So I'm probably going to end up putting like 2 good sized relief cuts here, laying the material in, pushing the material all down over the top of each other, and then we will seam that as well. So I'll go over how we're going to do that. And then this bottom section is going to come in like this, and it's going to need some stretch because this part sticks out so much further, and this is so much deeper in there, and we want to get some wrap underneath. We're going to have to stretch this into place, but we're also going to have to make sure that we get this line really well lined up so that it's not super visible. And it holds a bunch of dirt and things like that. We'll just see how this goes. We may not come wrap all the way down, and we may not really butt these 2 entirely together, but I'm hoping that we can. because we got to get enough stretch in here in order to get the film to contour into this. So that's going to take stretch, which is going to create, you know, this is going to be where the stretching is going to be. It's really going to have to stretch a lot in this area in order for it to flow down into here and then stay on this nice and flat. And then these things here, we're just going to basically kind of put cuts in the corners there, and then this stuff will lay in. It'll come around this corner, and so that will get all wrapped around. These things here, we're going to go ahead, and since this top piece will be one piece and then this will be a separate piece down here, we're going to be able to lay this stuff in, but that is going to leave us with a gap like right in here where there won't be any coverage. And then because we're going to cut like this, and then that piece will flap into there, so that's going to leave us with an empty space there, which is fine. And then we'll probably come over to like here, and then I'll cut up with the material maybe, and then we'll get some coverage across the top here. Otherwise it's just cut a line straight across right here and just round that edge. Either one of those seem fine, seem totally acceptable. And then these are going to be a pain to work around. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just basically, once the film is on here, we're going to cut around these, lay the film down. Now if I can, I'm just going to come straight down with this and then let this material go in, and then we will cover this front piece of this right here. We'll see how that goes. And then for this piece down here, when we stretch this into place, we're basically just looking for the most coverage we can get on the bottom in the visible area. So I'm going to cut just right here across this, so that'll just barely round, and then we'll lay this into place. We'll cut around these guys here, and maybe we'll throw in a couple little pieces right here just to protect the face of that. Okay, I mean, that's, you know, that's the job. I'm super excited about it. It's gonna be fine. It's just, you know, it's just work, right? It's just got to get started and get going, because I could spend all day looking at this thing trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it. Just need to get moving. Okay, let's do it. All right, so the way that I've laid this out over here on the wall is that this piece here is roughly like a 6-inch piece that'll go from here down. This piece here is the rest of the top of a 24-inch roll, about 18 inches, and that is basically going to be a U shape, because if we lay flat on here and then we go back this way, we basically have a U shape. So we've got a U shape, and then this straight part, and then we'll do this one on a separate roll, which maybe even at this point then picking like, I don't know, that'd be like a 48-inch roll is the next size. Well, there's a 36. I probably could have done that and then done this bottom section on a 36-inch roll, maybe 24. That actually would have probably worked on a 36, but I did a 24. So this part we're gonna have to put on an 18-inch roll. Oh well. Like, this gets, you know, this is like a bit of a pain, because you want to get something that's going to lay on here correctly, but you want to get this in there too, and I probably should even went for the bottom part, but whatever. We're just put a 16-inch piece or 18-inch piece on there and stretch it out. So let's go ahead and get on this top part though. We're going to work our way down. That way we'll know that this part lines up where we need it to, and then we'll bring this bottom part up to seam up to it, which should work the best. And then this part will then seam into this part, and that will work the best as far as the install goes here. All right, so we've got this all nice and clean. I pressure washed the snot out of this car, and then I hit it with the air compressor to try to make sure and get all the dirt away from this area. I mean, regardless of the fact that this car was just painted, there's dirt everywhere, and we don't need to be fighting that in our install. And we'll just remove the backing from it instead of trying to peel it off of the backing. Okay. Let's see how this looks now. So it looks like instead of a U shape, it might be better. Oh, you know, I could have went longer, huh? And that's okay. I anticipated that this was going to be way too big here. This part widthwise, but that looks like we should be able to get that to lay in there, I think. And then we'll put some stretch across it and then get that part to lay in over here. Although I think I went like 88 inches wide. No, the whole roll is 88 inches, and then this was like 65 wide on the U shape. But the U shape looks like we definitely could have made that even wider, and that would have been better. It's kind of a guess. Okay, I did, when I stretched it, I got some distortions here in the adhesive, and we don't want that. Alright, I may have made a mistake. Okay, so let's get that stretch back on it, and then we'll try squeegeeing this out. Still got some distortions there in the center, so we will try lifting that up and see if we can work with that. Now this piece here, this just isn't going to work. All right, so we're coming up just on this side of the headlight almost, and then this one we're way over further. So let's go like just past the headlight on the middle, just past the headlight in the middle. Great. Let's try this right here, and then we will make adjustments as we go. So we want to be centered because we want this to be right in the middle so that these sides are the same length on each side. Now we are going to need a little bit of stretch here. Once I'm getting this laid down into place, we're going to need a little bit of stretch in order to get rid of these fingers here, which isn't a huge stretch, so that shouldn't be much of a problem. Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and get a mist here across the top, and we'll go ahead and get this tacked in the center, and I'm going to let this wrap down in there just a little bit. So we'll go up, and then this has no stretch in it, and this has all the fingers, so let's redo that. We definitely want to have each half on each side, because otherwise we're doing all the stretching on one side, and that just means more possibility of getting some distortions from the stretch out here in the middle. And actually, if we do it just like that, if that'll, I mean, that's looking really good. With not, okay, that looks good. Let's roll with it just like that. Okay, so we've got some fingers here. I'm just pushing the film up a little bit, and then we'll put a little bit of a stretch on it. Just keep everything laying down nice and even. Okay, then we'll take this over the edge and squeegee all this out here. Great. Okay, now let's see what we can work with over here. So we've got plenty of extra material. We can see that we're going to need to get rid of a lot of this here. So let's see if it lays down just about like that, kind of splits the fingers evenly. Then if we give that some stretch like that, that looks great. Okay, so let's actually just try that first. You know, still quite a bit of finger there. So let's know that we're going to be right about there. So let's bring this line up a little bit and get some of this excess cut out. Like that. That'll just help us have a little bit less material bumping into everything up here. Okay. Great. I'm just checking right here to make sure I didn't leave too much of a stretch line, and there is a very, very minor one there, but it's totally livable. You know, it's not a problem at all. Okay, this is getting a little bit of a smiley face there, and what that means is we're going to need to put a little bit of stretch out here towards the edges of it. So let's actually get this part laid down into place a bit more, and then let's get some tack in here. So these areas kind of need to come away like that. Perfect. And just pull down on this one. Okay, great. We need to keep stretching here because we don't want to let this sit for too long. Otherwise, we're going to leave stretch marks in the adhesive when we do go to stretch this. Okay, so let's get rid of a little bit more of this now. And we know it's going to be right here at the rubber. So let's see if I can just put kind of a little bit of a cut into that surface. And I lost it. Okay, let's try that again. And then somewhere up here we'll come all the way through. Let's see if that will even tear along that. Okay, that looks like it's doing fine. Okay, and then once we get around the corner, we're good. We don't need to have this part cut off yet. Okay, so we've got some lines in here from the stretching, which is going to work out fine so far. Let's put a little bit more stretch into this now. Okay, so something like that stretches out everything out very nicely. Okay, and then we'll push this up into the rubber here. We want the extra to go up above the rubber, and we'll kind of squeegee all this out into place. If you need to, throw some tack in there to make sure that this stays down and doesn't start to all pop back up. Like, we're gonna have to definitely get some tack in there because we need that to stay down. But we don't want to spend too much time over here because we need to get over and get the other side stretched into place. Okay, let's get a bunch of tack in there. Get a bunch of tack in here. And I mean, I hit all this area here with the pressure washer really, really well. So the hope is that we're not gonna have, there's gonna be no dirt trying to come out from underneath this piece of rubber here that goes in between the fender and bumper. Okay, so now with some tack in there, this stuff's really gonna wanna stay down better. Great, let's get all this part down now. Okay, great. All right, everything's looking really good. Let's go get the other side down now. Okay. Now back over here again. Let's go ahead, take care of any pre-tacking by lifting this up like that. Now we need to go ahead and get ourselves a soft line to stretch from, because where this has been drying, I consider that a hard line. And you don't want to stretch away from a hard line. You want to stretch away from a soft line where it's just been squeegeed out recently. The longer that is sat, the more possibility when you pull away from there, you're going to leave a major stretch line. We don't need a lot of stretching in this area, so let's just go ahead and do some minimal stretching away from this line here. Something like that, and we'll squeegee over a bit. And then we'll get our bigger stretch on here around the corner. Okay, now we're going to get rid of these fingers here. So let's kind of split them up between the top and the bottom. And let's pull this. Okay, so something like that's looking pretty good. Okay. Let's see what this looks like now. Okay, that looks really good. Go ahead and squeegee all this out. Could you really use another hand? Somebody just tug down on that a little bit for me? I'd appreciate it. Okay, we'll go ahead and put some tack in here now. Pull this into place. And we're only putting as much stretch in this as we need. We don't want to overstretch, because that's when we're going to start really getting some stretch lines in here. Okay, we'll go ahead and bring all this back this direction. Everything is pushing down real nice. Let's get a bunch more tack in here and get this to stay stuck down now. Put a little bit more tension on it right here. And I'm just gonna hold this on this side and we'll squeegee all this out. Okay, that's too much stretch up, isn't really what I meant to do. I'm more trying to keep this stretch this way in this material up here, but not take it up to where it's going to want to continue to lift at this rubber. Okay. Let's get a little bit more tack in here. And let's push this all the way up to the rubber. We also need to take care of that right here. Okay, let's get some tack in this part here. And when you get some tack up here behind this part, let that lay back into place, and then we'll go ahead and squeegee this down. Okay, so we want to make sure that this gets stuck down. Let's go ahead and get that again. And then potentially we can go ahead and trim that right now so it doesn't continue to pop up. I mean, once this tension is, this area that isn't stuck down is relieved from here, that's not going to come back up again. So it's just that you've got this whole edge that isn't stuck down, that's got all this moisture in it. That's a problem for this area staying stuck down, the rest of this, because it's just going to want to continue to pop up. Okay, let's see how that does here. Yeah, see, that just keeps wanting to come back up. So let's actually do, yeah, I mean, all this is going to kind of be a pain in the butt because it's all kind of got some tension on it. I'm going to go get another blade, and then we'll do some trimming on this top part to make sure that stays down, and then we'll be able to work down here without worrying about all this coming up and leaving, you know, some kind of lift lines and stuff right there. Okay, so let's see if we can run basically just right down this piece of rubber here with a new blade. Just keep pulling the knife back to make sure that I'm following a good line there. Gonna have to be really careful when we go to tear this off that we're not hang on. Okay. Alright, so where did we come to here? Should just brought this stuff this way so I can go off the edge and get ourselves a good line to tear from. Like that. Okay, great. Okay, that's good enough for now. I'm happy with that. Okay, let's dry that out. Make sure that edge doesn't continue to pop back up. That looks fantastic. Okay, let's do the same thing to this side here. I'll start back here. And I hope I just didn't run over that material. Great, let's start again here. This material looked like it might have been overhanging this bottom part, so if I went over those two, obviously I'm not going to be cutting through both of them, or in the other part where there's only one layer, I'll be hitting the paint. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and leave that attached right there. That way we can use that as a tear line for continuing across the front. And maybe we'll just go ahead and take care of that now. Okay, let's try this out a bit. And just make sure when you're pressure washing this vehicle that you're just pressure washing the snot out of these edges, because I mean, what a mess if dirt comes out from underneath there. You're going to destroy that edge with that. It'd be just such a mess. Okay, now let's see what we've got going on here. I feel like that this material went underneath the rubber here, and I'm not sure what to do about that. If it is back in there. So let's see, where did that cut end? Cut ended right here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way across this like this. You can see I'm at quite a bit of an angle because I just can't get straight down on it very well. Not getting any squeaking. Don't want to add any more pressure though, because I definitely don't want to cut through. Okay, we're getting close to coming up to our meeting our other cut right there. Let's see how this does. Come on, baby. Tear pretty. All right, so far so good. If this tears wrong, it's gonna really be a problem. Okay, there's 2 cut lines here from when I came back when I was coming back this way. So it's wanting to tear on both of those. So I went ahead and just went with the one obviously that's closer this way because we don't want to leave that line in it. I'm gonna just try to sneak some tack in there now. Just hit that edge real good. Sneak a little tack in that edge, and then we'll push this out. Okay, and then now we will go ahead and put the towel in here, try this whole edge out, and then we'll double check it. Beauty. Okay, that looks fantastic. Moving right along. All right, so considering getting some of this cut off of here, it's just a whole bunch hanging over here. Okay, let's see. This all looks really good. Okay, everything seems to be stuck down good. Now we need to try and feed this material into that recess and see how much coverage we can get there. Okay, so in this section of the video I start wrapping into this recess here, and I pushed the film quite a ways down in there because I wanted to see how it was going to be able to roll down into that area. But this time spent on this is really pretty much a waste of time because I ended up just cutting this right off anyway, which I will explain to you later. So let's skip ahead to working around the light there just to my right. Okay, so we're just kind of rounding this down in, and I tell you what, I don't know if this is worth it. So we know that we're going to be cutting off right here. And maybe it'd be best just to leave a tiny bit to roll that edge and then heat seal it down. Yeah, that's definitely best here. This recess here is worse. It's like more of a 90 degree when you get in there. This one is much softer of a turn there. This is like in and then like down, and that one's really not gonna work out for trying to wrap down into this area, so we're really not trying to do that on that one. Now this part here, I did kind of think that I was gonna be able to kind of wrap this edge just a little bit, and I think we can do that. I mean, it might even be nice to get some of this to go back to the light there. So let's see what we can do for that. So let's kind of try to lay this down into place and see where this line is gonna need to be for it to do that. Over like something like that. And then we'll pull that back up to our line, and then we'll go ahead and take this straight across. And then at this point, we can come down into this, just a little bit into that recess. Okay, let's just stop there for now. I don't want to get too far into that. I've got a lot more stuff to push down. This is super tedious. So honestly, it seems to make the most sense to me, and I should probably just do it although I get into this tedious stuff and I'm like, oh no, I'll just go ahead and do this. It's like, really, are we just wasting time though? Are we just spinning our wheels for not any coverage that anybody cares about? Okay, so this one goes in right about there. Let's find our line, which is right there, and then let's kind of push this in, because the last thing we want is for this piece to be too far down where it's rounding this edge, and then we're going to bump into it with this piece. We definitely don't want that. I'd rather have nothing up in here in order to make this part easier to lay in on the next piece that we're installing. This is just taking entirely too long, really. This is very, very tedious work. So, I don't know how well this video is going to be received, because this is going to be incredibly boring, I feel like. It's going to be so incredibly tedious. Okay. But now, so we did get some coverage right there, which I think is great for this bottom part. And then we are cut off just on the top there, right like that, and then right like that. So that won't interfere with this piece at all. Okay. The other thing you could do is just cut right here on the face, and I don't think that's a problem at all. Although I think that this is going to wrap around this incredibly easily and stay stuck down. Okay, so I am getting a little bit closer to the edge now of the bumper. In these areas. All right, so let's go ahead and, I mean, this could take a little bit of squeegeeing. I don't know that the squeegeeing even is the best way to wrap this underneath a little bit, because you could just use your finger, but we do want to get rid of as much of that solution as possible. And it might just go around and tack very nicely. So let's see here. So we're basically just chomping this down. Just make sure you're not leaving anything up high above the turn. I think that you could also maybe just take your finger, even with just a towel on it, and push some of this down, especially in these areas. And then this stuff that continues to like want to pop up here, I wouldn't worry about it all. We're gonna get all that stuff with a little bit of heat once it's dry. And I mean, really, these won't even need much heat to go down once they dry, but the heat will help them stay down. Okay, so that looks really good. We'll come across here, and I'm just gonna keep recording and we'll keep going over this together. And then you guys can just skip ahead to the next parts, because really we've done almost half of this bumper. I guess we didn't. Let's just finish this part here first so you can see how this is going to go, and then you can skip ahead if you'd like to. Okay, stuff continues. I'm just, what? It just seems the easiest. I'm just getting way too carried away with this, I think. So I'm going to just go ahead and come straight across here like this. And then we'll just kind of gradually go down into this recess, into the very recess, and we'll go ahead and trim this off. because really anything lower than that is ridiculous, and I'm just getting carried away, and it doesn't want to do it anyway. So, because right here it just wants to pop up into that recess, and we're just making more work for ourselves that really is giving us, I don't feel like, any real benefit. So let's go to right there, and then let's come back here to the end of this cut, and let's get into that groove again, and then take that all the way out like this. Now we've got a great tear line. Oh yeah. Just stop it, Brent. Stop getting carried away. That's more than enough coverage. Yep, and that just goes, it just was a waste of time really, that other part there. I could have just cut it off right there, wrapped that down in. It would have been like, I don't even know how many times faster, a gazillion times faster, and we're moving on. A gazillion. Okay, so over here, we'll start right in here. Come across. I am just gonna drop down very, like a 16th. And then I'm just going down right over that edge, because we just barely want to wrap that edge with this one. Okay. And then this, so I get a good cut line, I'm going to go ahead and kind of lay this in place here. Looks like it goes about like that. And we're getting a little long here, getting a little wide. So I'm gonna just go back up a little, and then we're gonna pull on this here and cut the rest of this off. So by tugging on this, I keep this with good tension on the blade, and the tip is giving us a nice little line to continue to tear on. Let's see, yep, it's too weird at the end there to get that. If you really want to get this part cut off, you're gonna just need to use scissors on that, or tweezers would even work. You could hold on to this tiny little edge with tweezers and then cut it with some tension on it then. All right, let's get some tack up in here, and let's wrap all this up in. Okay, let's wrap this in to kind of see where this line is going to go. And we want to cut it a little short. That looks good right there. Go all the way to the end of our cut with the tear. And let's see. Come across. Then we'll kind of dip down into this recess, and then let's see what we can do here with this side different than the other side. That's going to save us a bunch of time and still give us some good coverage. Let's get all this pulled back up. Okay, great. So we just want to round over that edge as much as we can and get as close as we can to that back inner corner there. Oop, I got a little low there, so let's get back up so we can come across right here. And then off the edge like that. Tear that, great. Alrighty, let's get some tack up in here, up in here. Y'all gonna make me put my tack up in here, up in here. Oh, that's tacking too quick. Okay, let's get this laid down. Across the face first, make sure that we're all the way down to the turn or the bend in the bumper. And then we'll go ahead and push this down towards the back. Just chomp this down. Very tedious work here. Just make sure you're getting everything squeegeed out so that you're not leaving air pockets in this that you're gonna have to either come back and pick this material back up or you know, hit it with a syringe. All right, so we are gonna wrap this all the way in. So we'll go ahead and get some tack in there and we'll start laying this down. So I don't like, I don't know, this is just the one I grabbed, but I definitely want the black squeegee because I want more pressure in there. This one's gonna give us definitely more pressure. Okay, let's make sure we're off of this. Everything's pushed out to the bend there. And then we'll push that all the way back in and down. Great. Let's go ahead and get a piece, go grab our piece for this bottom part. Okie dokie. So, this is gonna be super fun. All right, let's go ahead and like line up one of these spots, and then we'll just kind of work away from one of these first tack points. They'll make this a first tack point, and then we'll go away from this. I want to make sure that it's good and bumped up against that, so we get nice tight seam. Great. I'll go ahead and lay this into place all the way down till we get to that bottom. So they'll this part. So right there. Now let's go ahead and work on this here. So as we come across, we know that we're gonna need to hit this one. And then we are gonna need some stretch. So should we just put, I don't really want a whole bunch of stretch in here either though. So let's tack this point and then stretch away from there. So we'll get some tack in there. And then we'll get this to bump. Oop, come on baby, float for me a little. Sometimes with the tack solution, you can get this to float just a little bit. So you can get this bumped into place. And if that isn't gonna work, then we just have to get some slip in there and get it, that part into place. And then we can lift up on this and put some tack in the rest of this. There we go. Okay. Great. And then, I mean, that's basically how that's going to look, because we need to come up and hit this line here, but we do need to give a little bit of stretch into there to get rid of this finger, at least down to here. Okay, so that looks like a good amount of tension on there. Okay. All right, so that looks really good. Let's get a little bit more stretch in this to get a little bit rid of that. There. Okay, let's get some tack in this part, get this seam nice and lined up, and we'll get that squeegeed out. And let's get this stuck all the way down into this recess, and then we'll come back and figure out where we want to cut our line into it. Great. Get all this into this recess. I totally feel like this piece will lay in there pretty well, so I'm gonna go ahead and just do it, because I feel like that's gonna lay, look at that lay down, huh? And let's get this part down. Okay. Okay, great, because we're just going to cut right there all the way around. And then we're going to put a couple relief cuts in this in order to get this part to lay down into place. But for now, let's go ahead and double check this, make sure this is all tacked down. Okay, and we'll come back and deal with that once we get everything else stretched and laid down, and then we'll also come back and deal with this. So let's fill this up with some slip solution here, so it doesn't start sticking too bad or pre-tacking. All right, so what I'm actually gonna do is put just a little bit of stretch into this over to here, and we'll get this spot tacked down. Nice tight seam there. Looks like this is laying down pretty good. Get some mist on that. Okay, there. Just go ahead and take that back to there. Now let's deal with this right in here. Okay, and what looks like it'll work pretty good in here is let's actually get this material to tack down to these lines here. And then we can, ooh, got a little bit of black on the bumper here. Okay, there we go, got it. Okay, so let's see, there's some bunching up of the material there, and I don't think that that needs to be there, so I'm going to release the tension on the top and let that extra material go that direction. And then we can go ahead and go from, let's back you up just a little bit while we squeegee this out. So we'll go ahead and go from here, kind of come over a bit, and then we'll do the same thing from here. And then want to go across this face here, like that. And then this part we never tacked down like I already just did on the other side. Okay, so here's the question. Do we just cut down like this and go all the way through and leave a bunch of lines going in the bumper that direction? Or do we cut this down and come across. Let's do that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then is I'm gonna come like this. I'm gonna start right about here. And we're just gonna come along the very edge of that face. We'll come down to here. We'll make a turn across. Start here, come along that face, all the way down. I think our turn was right there again. Now this is gonna be really hard to get this to, oh, no it's not. Okay, good. I thought that was gonna be hard to get it to start. Okay, then let's make this go back up. There we go. And then we'll pull this section up all the way towards the top. And now that's gonna give us a nice, so if we put a little tension on this, look how well that lays down over that. So that's gonna be great. Let's just get all these cut and then we'll lay this down into place. So right to there. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay, great. One more of those. So I'm just gonna put tack in here, I think, and we're gonna give tack a shot. And we're not gonna put too much tug on it. The last thing we want is to leave any stretch lines here. It would have been maybe a better idea just to tack right here, and then we could have stretched away from that instead of trying to stretch away from right here. But, you know, hindsight, right? And actually that didn't leave much of any mark in there, so that looks fantastic. Let me just push this down, take this under all the way back. Okay, let's give that a little tug. And I'm just gonna go ahead and throw some tack in here. And go ahead and squeegee over to here. Whoop. Okay, let's go ahead and get over this rounded edge and then work our way back there. Okay, then last one here. Okay, so we'll take this part this way, and then we'll take this part this way. under with this all the way to the back. And let's go ahead and push this to here. Squeegee all that out. Let's get all the way down to the turn here, the bend. And then let's go ahead and get some more tack in here and we'll take all of this back. Okay, we don't want to leave any moisture in here, so let's make sure that we got it all. Okay, so this part's popping up. Could be that there was still a lot of slip in there and we were diluting the tack, so let's go ahead and make sure that we're getting all this down, we're getting all the air out around these things here. Okay, we're gonna hold off on messing with those. I mean, we do want everything kind of squeegeed out of those, but up here at the very top, we're not so worried about that. Let's get this part down that we just put some tack in. Okay, I'm gonna lift this up, get some tack under it. Oh, you know what? Don't get too far ahead of ourselves though. We haven't even finished stretching over to that other side yet. Okay, so let's take care of these the three fins. I don't know what you call these things other than a pain in the rear end. All right, so I'm gonna get this pink one out because it's more rigid than the others and smaller for this smaller working area. Okay, great. So that seems like that's down really good. I'm gonna hold right here because I don't want to put too much tension right here where these relief cuts end. And we'll go ahead and kind of stretch this down, just a little bit of stretch so that it wants to wrap around the edge real well. Oh, look at me, I'm a little shaky right now. Wowzers. I did have a Starbucks today, and actually I had about 2/3 of a Starbucks. I don't drink a lot of coffee, and that seems to be more than what I needed. Don't even bother asking me what size it is. First off, I don't understand their sizing, and I don't care to. I mean, I guess I understand their sizing. I just don't know the names of them. My kids always make fun of me when I take them through for a treat at Starbucks, which for me is not a treat. I mean, I guess it is a treat, but I can't handle the really sugary drinks. So, you know, it's just more coffee. Okay, great. So that's nice and pushed down. The edges are not completely pushed down. Just the ones that are rounding just a tiny bit, but we don't care about that. That's plenty good enough for now. Let's move on to this next one. Okay, so I'm pulling back on this so that we can get way underneath there with as much of this tack as we can. And then first things first, we want to get all this stuff pushed down. Great. And then before we tug this down into place, let's go ahead and make sure we've got this whole thing pushed down on the sides. Like that. Fantastic. How's that looking on the bottom? Really good. Okay, now let's take this thing into place here. Get some tack in there. We'll come right down the face of that. And then we get down to here. To make it around this contour, we're going to put just a tiny bit of stretch on it. Don't get crazy, because if you put too much stretch on that, it's not going to want to stay down. It's going to want to continue to shrink up to that corner, so we don't want to get too crazy. All right, so this time I'm just going to go ahead and push that down right on the face, and then all that's going to be left is these little edges, and I'm just going to dry them out like that there. Okay. Last one here. Looks like we could come up just a little bit more. I just tore that just a little bit up. Pull out on that so that anything that's not fully stuck down right there is now going to be full of tack solution. I'll release that tension, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this down right at that end of that relief cut. Same over here. Get that part down. Great, and then we'll take these sides all the way down, making sure that we've got all the water and air pushed out of those, because this is going to be the final on these. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and get this laid down, so just like that looks really good. Great. And this one, what I went ahead and did was I put a little tension on it around this contour, and then I released that tension once I got down into this part, and then pushed that down. And what that's going to do is that's going to ensure that we've got some stretch here for any material on this edges that hang over just a little bit. We've got some stretch so that they'll contour and lay down, but then we're not going to have tension on the end here, so we don't have to worry about this failing and wanting to pop up. I know, it's just a real small thing, right? Why do you have to put so much thought into that? Okay. We're gonna wanna wrap all the way down to here, and maybe even in that way a little bit. It probably is come right to the edge, huh? Okay, so for this part here, what I want to do is come from like here up like this. And then we can tear down our line like that. Okay. Get that pushed down, and then now what we can do is bring this around like that. Put a little bit of tension on it because we've got a bunch of extra material in here. Like that. And we need that cut there, because otherwise when we pull on this, there's going to be just a ton of extra material up here. Let's see what we can do about that. We want this material to kind of come back together right here, although it is going to leave a little gap. Let's go ahead and get some tack on here. Like that. Okay, then we'll push this down. Just like that. And then I'm going to push that around the edge for right now and just hold that in place. So that just stays down, and I can come back and deal with all of that trimming later. Actually, nope, it's going to just pop up. So we're going to go ahead and trim it now. We're just going to come down right here. And if we're going across fingers like that, we want to wiggle back and forth, kind of more like a sawing motion across those. Right to that end of the material. Pull on it, break it. Okay, and then let's go ahead, and that has released all the tension that we had put on it, so we're getting a bit more of a finger there. So I'm going to go ahead and push that back down. but I'm pushing it and kind of tugging on it at the same time with my finger, with my thumb there. And I know that this is going to be terrible video right in here, but it's what we got. Okay, we're going to leave that alone for now. That looks good enough for the time being. Okay. Let's go ahead, and it looks like to get this to lay down, there's a little bit of extra material here, so I am, well, no, I'm not. I'm just, we're going to be able to push that down. Let's pull some of that back up a little bit underneath there, and that's going to be fine. And then let's get this. Oh man, does not like that. It's interesting. What is going on here? I think I don't have a nice straight cut here for this piece. It actually kind of angles down. Let's see what we can do about that. The problem with coming over and then angling down a little bit is we're going to create more fingers here. So we need to get this part down, and then we need to get our stretch on this part. So let's see what we can do here. Nice tight seam right there. We will squeegee this straight down. Okay, and we can try and get some of this pushed down for now. Okay, just across that face of the bumper there. And then I'm going to pull this back. Oh, it just popped up again, so let's just go ahead and squeegee that out, and we'll see if that wants to stay at all. If it doesn't, who cares? We got other things to worry about. But we do want this part down right here. Like that. Let's get a little bit of stretch on this. Back to here. Okay, so this is in place. It's kind of starting to tack a bit, which is great. Let's go ahead and squeegee this out down to there. And then let's see what we can do about getting rid of that excess material. It looks like it can just go up into that recess and go away. Okay, let's get a little tack in here then. Something like that. And then we'll lift this up and make sure we can feed some material into this recess. Okay, and then let's bring this around. That can go up into there. Okay, I'm gonna pull this up. Get some slip solution in there, and then we'll get all this pushed down off of the face here. And then we'll take the rest of this down off the face. And then we'll kind of put some more tack in here and see where we can get down to before we're gonna have to start putting in a relief cut. Okay, so that seems like what we're gonna get without, you know, doing some stretching and some tacking. But let's just go to there and see what we can do. All right, and so right in here, I want to get some tack now because I really want this to stay down so that we can figure out where what we need to do down here in the bottom. So let's go ahead and get this part squeegeed towards the center. That way we don't come over here and accidentally squeegee anything through stuff that's already stuck down. And then let's go ahead and push all this down. Okay. And we'll get some tack in this, and we'll get this pushed down all the way to this opening. Now it looks like, let's see what we can do here. So once we cut this right here, then this part should lay pretty flat, and maybe we can even pull some little bit of tension on it this way and get rid of a little bit of this extra material here. Let's see what we can do. So I'm gonna start like right here. Actually, there's still a little bit of air and water right here, so let's get that over. I'm gonna come, let's see here, like right here. Just like that. And I'm gonna pull this down. I'm gonna find my line across the material. There it is. I'm gonna go all the way through like that. And then we should be able to tear all the way back to here. Now, we need to get this other half stuck down first with tack solution so that it doesn't want to pop up when we start running across it with this next piece. Okay, so we want to be real careful right here, because if you go over this too much, you're gonna leave like a finger there. So we're gonna need to put some tension on this and try to drag this over this way like this, and then we're going to tack that down, and then we're going to try to get some of this out. So we need enough tension on this so that that lays down really good right there on the corner. And really, it'd be nice to kind of feed some more material up into this. Like that. Hey. Hey.
Hey, so dinner is at 6:30.
Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just haven't had a chance to reply, but that's fine.
Okay, so what time are you headed home then? Are we going to...
Well, okay, so now we need to just get rid of that air and tack solution there. Okay, that went fantastic, really. I mean, the fact that we were able to stretch over this way and get all that to lay down with only doing one relief cut in there, I'm really happy with, because I did give myself permission to put 2 relief cuts in there. But we don't have to do that. That's fantastic. Okay, so for this part now, we need to see where this is going to kind of go back. Something like this. And then we can make sure that that's going to go back far enough before we start going up. And then we can cut that all the way up. And then that should be a little bit long, and then we'll have to trim that. Okay. Bring that back a little bit further. Okay, great. Okay, now in order to get this to lay down, because there is a little bit of a contour in it like this, we're gonna need to put some tension on it in the middle to get rid of the rest of that excess film on these ends. Okay, that went really well. Up into that corner. That's looking really good. We're over basically all the way up to the light, which is great. Everything is looking really good right there. Okay, terrific. Now what do you guys think? Leave this so that we can wrap this a little bit more, or just cut it straight off? I don't know. I went a little bit longer on this one because it might make it easier once it's down in there to trim it and peel it off than this one where it like runs out right there. Okay. Same thing with this one, a little bit of a tug on that. Oh, this like squeegee fits like almost perfect in here. Okay, let's get this all pushed out. Okay, up into that recess there. Got trapped a little bit of air and water in there. So let's get that out. So basically this is kind of creeping out around this line, and where I want this to end is right there at the bend. So I'm going to go to that bend there. And then I'm going to hold on that edge, on that bend. Great, and you can see it's coming up a little bit right here. So let's take care of that, and that's from that tension we put on there. You know, it has a hard time once it tries to go around this corner and it's popped up back there. It has a hard time not letting that part that's popped up with moisture in there creep around. Okay, and then let's make a decision about this. That seems ridiculous to put that in there. I think that looks terrible when it goes over and then back like that. So I am going to cut this off just like this over that edge all the way around and try to keep that very uniform, nice and straight. And then make sure when you end over here, you're ending on the other line, which is right there. Whew. All right. Okay, that came off my line there. So we went back the other way. That looks great. We'll get some tack in here. And then we'll roll this edge over. Okay, all this is looking like it's staying down pretty good. All right, well, I got the flu. This thing sat for a little while, unfinished. So bad times. That was a couple days. So anyway, I'm still at the, just getting past this, so I'm a little bit rough today. I'd rather be home sleeping in bed. But I gotta get to work. This stuff just builds up if I'm not here. All right, so I went ahead and wetted this area back down, and we'll go ahead and push this down and see what it looks like. I'm trying to decide basically if I can still continue with this install or if I need to pull this piece off and restart this part. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Some of it did pop up down here, which kind of makes sense because there's areas that weren't attached and curled up where this was stretched into place, and what that's going to cause is that gives it an area to just continue to peel back from and just continue to curl. And if there's any tension on it and you have a lifted edge, that edge can just keep pulling and pulling until the tension's completely released. So it's best if you get all that stuff trimmed and pushed down right away, and then you can let that sit. But unfortunately it just didn't work out that way this time. So let's see what we can do here. All right, so basically I'm just trying to round all this stuff up and in, and actually I've only got slip in there right now. Let's go ahead and get some tack. Oh. Okay. Alright, so let's make sure we've got everything out of that recess pushed out. And then once we get that pushed out, we'll go ahead and go back over that with our squeegee. 'Cause sometimes it's hard to get your finger all the way into that recess and get that pushed out really good. You just always want to double check with the squeegee. Okay. So just checking that corner right there, trying to get my fingernail in there. It's a little bit long right now, and I can push in and then round that edge and just make sure there's nothing left in there. We don't want to be leaving any water in there because then we're going to have to come back and hit that with a needle. Okay, and then at this part here, go ahead and lift this back up. Got this top part piece here is peeling up just a tiny bit there. Let's get some tack solution in there, and we can go ahead and round this in. Okay. Okay, now let's see. So let's just kind of try to work this recess all the way around here. Okay, let's get this part up and out. Just making sure to get that recess really good. It's so easy to leave moisture in there. Okay, it looks like we're down to about here now. Yep. Okay, you can see this part is starting to stick here and not allowing this tack solution to come out of there. All right. There we go. See if we can get this recess to push down and then stay down. Not really. Man, I really don't want to pull this back off, but it might be the right answer. Oh, actually there it goes. Okay, so it looks like it maybe wants to work with us a bit now here. I just happened to push it down the correct way that it's happy with. Let's get all of this, make sure there's nothing left in here. Okay, I keep finding a little bit of moisture in here that I'm able to push out. So we just want to make sure and keep at that until we've got all the moisture out of that recess there. Because without question, that's going to dry with leaving an air pocket. Okay, that, I think, when I go over this now, I'm not really finding any additional moisture coming out of that recess. I think this one is there's a little something here, but I don't think it's in the paint protection. I think it's actually in the paint work. There's a little tiny, I'd call it almost a run or a little bump in the paint. All right, let's get this part tacked back down. All right, we're gonna pull this back a little bit so we can feed some extra material into that recess right there. That's all looking really good. So let's go ahead then and kind of start pushing this down. Okay, and then let's get this part down and around that recess. Okay, let's go ahead and trim this. So I'm going to start right in the recess here. It's going to be the best spot to hide the seam that's going to go across here. Come over to here, and then we'll kind of come up this line here for the seam where these two come together. Okay, let's see how well we did a trim on that, or how well we scored that. Let's come over to here, and I can pull this back till I can see my score mark on the, so it's right there. I'm going to go ahead and take this over the edge and go all the way through, give us a nice line to tear from. Perfect. Okay, over to here, and then we'll come out towards the front of the bumper. Great. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and dry this stuff out. Okay, we've got a little finger coming up right there. Let's go ahead and pull this back a little bit. Actually, I've got a couple little air pockets in there, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull back to that recess. And then we'll get some tack solution in here. And then we'll go ahead and push this out. And then we'll take it just a little bit further. It looks like I left a little air pocket right there, so we'll get that guy out. Okay. All right, then let's go ahead and trim this over to here. Let's see, how do we want to do this spot here? So I'm gonna come to right about here. Let's see. So we put this next piece on, it's gonna run right here along that edge. It is nice that this is all connected though. But do we want to have to come over and then cut down and come across with this next cut? Or would it be just easier to have it bump into that? I think it's going to want to continue to go down into this recess. You know, it's not going to want to lay on here real well when we put this next piece on, because there's going to be some stretch on it for sure. So I'm going to go ahead, I am just going to stick to my original plan. Just come across here and then basically come across the bottom right here in this light area. Okay, and then we're gonna do here, I think we're gonna come back up again. No, not too high though. So I'm gonna make this cut here first. And we'll come back down and over into this light, or whatever this is. It's actually tow hook cover. Okay, and then we'll stop right about there, because that's popping up right there. So we were able to cut over to here. So let's get this torn first. And then see where this finishes, and then we know that we need to go up to this next cut here, like that. Okay, so something like that's looking really good. Let's push all the, well, let's first get some tack in there again. Let's push all this down again, and then we'll dry that edge out. Okay, that's looking really good. Let's go ahead and get some tack in here. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and push all this back down. Great. And then we'll go ahead and take this line here all the way over to here, and then again we will drop down and then just go right inside of this vent here, or grill, I don't know, whatever you want to call this. I don't have it in me today to care. I know there's definitely an opening for the for those whatever those things are called. Oh my gosh, it's rough. I'm sorry about this. For the radiators in there. Whew. All right, so I've got an air pocket right there, so I'm gonna just go ahead and open that back up. We'll get some tack solution in there, and then we'll push that back down. And then over here, we're just pulled up right to the edge of this opening. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and cut this now, or trim it, or score it. Any of those will work. Okay, so we'll go back up to that inside of that indent there, come across, and then we'll come back down. That just looks like a huge pain in the butt. We're gonna see what I think later about this. It looks like a huge pain in the butt to be trimming this into the next piece that is gonna come into the bottom here. It may work out just fine, or we may be coming back and trimming all of that top out. And I'll explain myself here in a minute of why this is even a concern of mine and why I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. Okay, and then let's come all the way over to the end of that piece. I think I popped off a little bit with the blade there. Okay, let's see. I did not connect those really well, so let's see what we can do here from here. Perfect. That goes up, over, and then it'll come back down. Fantastic. Oh, this one goes up. I was not. Okay, and then that should go up right there, across, and then back down. Let's push all that out. Okay, and then this one all the way over. But the reason I didn't take this whole line all the way up is because my concern is that when we go to stretch this, it's going to take a decent amount of stretch, because, and mostly here is where the stretch is going to be, because we need to cover this bottom and then have the film want to contour into here and then pull tight. So this is going to be a very interesting area with the material, because there is some curve to the bumper this way from the center. So all this area is going to need some stretching in it in order to get this to lay down in here. So if we have a decent amount of stretch in there and we pull this tight, the problem with coming all the way to the top here is that because there's so much tension on this area where there's no bumper, this is going to want to just fall into that recess instead of staying right on our line here, like over and over again. It's just going to want to fall into that recess. And so that's why I thought it might be a good idea to go ahead and leave this part on this top part. All right, let's keep moving. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, let's get this laid all the way down into that recess there. We'll go ahead and start right here, and then we'll work our way around the corner and then around the side here. And then over here we'll go all the way through. That should give us a good cut line. Nope. All right. Okay, let's try that again. So I came across, looks like right here. Now let's try this one. Nope. Okay, let's try this one more time. Okay, so from right here, we're gonna go ahead and cut up this way. Let's see if that'll tear on that line. It will. And let's push all this back down. Let's go down to our tear line here. And there it follows it. Great. Okay. Let's go ahead and spray some tack solution up underneath there. Then we can go ahead and squeegee all this out. Okay, let's go ahead and trim right in here. So we're gonna go from this part, we're gonna go in that recess and then down to there. And I kind of came off my cut line. I bump it into this part here. So let's start from down here and then work our way up. I'm not sure, it's hard to see where my cut line was. So let's see how this does. Okay, and then we'll trim down. Great. Not trim, it will tear down. Alright, so I think with this one, so because I can't really cut all the way up or I'm going to be running into this here with the knife, so we'll kind of trim this part down like this. And then I'm hoping what I can do is just kind of angle this out and get that all the way down. That looks like it got pretty close. And then this part here, we'll go ahead and come across and up to that corner there. Let's see how we did. Hey, trimming down went well. How about trimming across now? I think I could really use a pair of tweezers for this part. Does not want to tear. I mean, I can see the line right there. It's pretty clear, so. If I get right into that line and then cut through it, there we go. That should really allow it to want to tear now. There it is. Let's also get this pulled back now a bit because we've left some air pockets in there. Okay, it's hard to get a good hold on it with these tweezers. There we go. Okay, got some moisture in there as well now, so let's go ahead and push this out. Beauty. All right, so for this part here, I'm just gonna stay on the face. Well, let's see. You could probably wrap around this just a little bit, which would probably be beneficial. So let's go ahead and do something like that. But in this corner, we're definitely gonna have to just put a relief cut in it because this is way too sharp of an indent for it to want to go around all of that and stick down. Let's get this pulled up. Okay, and actually I'm going to pull out on this, or tug up on this just a little bit as we're making our cut across here. There's a little piece of something underneath the material right there. There we go. And let's go ahead and get some tack solution in here. Let's get the rest of this pulled up off of here. Okay, great. So we want that to round over the edge, but not be enough to hit the back. It's not going to want to make that turn back there. Okay, we'll come over to there, and we'll go ahead and come straight down with this. And then right in that corner, we'll go ahead and cut all the way through, like that. All right, let's go ahead and kind of round all this in. So I'm just gonna slide chomp this. Okay, then we'll go ahead and try this out. All right, and then I'm just going through and drying this out. That way that stuff will start getting real tacky, and we can go ahead and heat seal that edge. All right, let's go ahead and trim around this. So a lot of times I like to wrap into these, but on this one there's really nothing to attach to around that corner, so that's kind of a lost cause. So I'm just staying on the very edge of the face there. Let's see what we can do here. So if I go on that line and then I cut down into this, Something like that. Hopefully that'll give me a nice tear line. There we go. Now it wants to tear. Okay, we'll just keep working our way around this. For between like this and the next car?
Yeah, I have the crowns, headlights, and door handle cups.
Do
You want me to put the mirrors in there? Are you gonna do those yourself, or?
I don't know, I haven't looked at it. Alright, so my trimming here I did not score the material well enough. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do this again. Okay, so let's try that now. Okay, much better. Now let's work in here. So go ahead and go across just below the indent there where it recesses. We'll make a turn at the end there. We'll come straight down with it. I gotta get a bit of a funky angle. Hope I fell off the line. Okay, let's see if I can reconnect with that. It's kind of just a guess. There we go. And those came together okay-ish. A little bit of stuff hanging over there where they didn't quite meet right there, so I'm gonna have to get that basically just picked and torn off there. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and push this up, and then let's push this out to this light, and then we'll go ahead and dry this out. Now over here I did end up with an air pocket in there, and we are not going to be trimming below that air pocket or even through the air pocket, which doesn't really work anyway. But I mean, through it might be okay, but if you're tearing, you know, but if you're going above it, it's definitely, we're not going to be able to get this out. So I'm going to kind of push everything over to this one side here to make a nice bulge that I can push through. And put my finger over it and push this way, and then at the same time remove this, and that gets all that air out. Okay, so I'll go ahead. What did we do here? I already cut down. I didn't cut any of this one yet. All right, so let's go ahead and try this with this one. I'm gonna go up. Nope, that's not gonna work good. This part is really deep right here. I think it's deeper than the bottom. And I've got to make that turn at the top, which isn't gonna be great at that angle. Okay. And right here we'll come across like this. Let's see what we can do with that. Great. Right down our trim line. Let's see what we can do with this one now. And just push that all back down. All right, this is coming out pretty good. I don't have it in me to record this other side going down into there. I gotta get to work and get this done. I'm like way behind schedule from being sick. All right, then I will go ahead and bring you guys back obviously when we start on this bottom piece. I think that's gonna be a little ways out too. I think we're probably a week or two that this is gonna have to sit around and wait for me to get everything else done, and then I will be back on this vehicle. I normally wouldn't let things sit this long, but we got a lot of stuff going on right now. So we had a real, you know, this year's been interesting with the market and everything. It's definitely slowed down a lot, and then all of a sudden we got super slammed. So I got a lot of things to get done. So let me go ahead and get started on that, and then we'll get back to this one.